If I can add to that, as a federal prosecutor and former state, in the case of gun violence, we were able to move gun cases from state to federal where we had mandatory minimum sentencing under the guidelines, right? 5 year, as opposed to sometimes in state courts it fluctuates. Maybe, Ms. Vafa, if you could elaborate on, are there any mandatory minimums for this type of offense under the federal sentencing guidelines?
So there is a mandatory minimum assigned to the 1591, which is the federal trafficking crime. And under the federal trafficking crime, patronize and solicits is part of the trafficking offense. Again, it's just a matter of whether federal law enforcement and prosecutors will apply that to sex buyers. It's been a part of the law since 2015. The Justice for Victims of Trafficking Act made it clear in the sense of Congress under that law. They addressed the fact that there was some ambiguity given that a couple of federal cases, essentially dismissed cases that went after sex buyers as part of the Sturgis Rally, biker cases. And so they wanted to remove all doubt that the word obtains could apply to sex buyers. And so they added patronize and solicits. And I think many years ago, Congressman Sensenbrenner had added mandatory minimums to 1591. So they are. The
mandatory minimums take the discretion away from the judge.
Correct.
They have to impose that mandatory minimum sentence. And so I don't understand, is that not being done?
It's just a matter of if prosecutors are willing to go after sex buyers.
So it's more on the
correct. It's still
Justice Department and state prosecutors that are not doing this.
Correct.
Because under the sentencing guidelines, it does provide for that. It's just if they're not going to ask for that as part of the sentencing.
Right, that's my understanding. I mean, there's still some confusion. I mean, even, certain, lawmakers are still unaware of the federal trafficking definitions, right? If there's an exchange of sex for anything of value with a minor, that under federal law constitutes trafficking. Yet, we'll still see instances of confusion in the press or concerning certain matters here, and there still seems to be confusion. Whereas
should be any sex with a minor,
correct,
irrespective of whether there's an exchange, is a crime.
Right, and it's a trafficking.
With minimum.
Right.
Mr. Thompson, can you maybe shed some light on this? I'm still a little confused. Is this just a matter of maybe at the state level or the prosecutors are not pursuing the mandatory minimum sentencing?
I think it's a combination of factors. I think the caseloads are overwhelming judges. The caseloads are overwhelming prosecutors. This comes down to dollars and cents because they don't have the money to pay more prosecutors, whether it's U.S. attorneys or local prosecutors. We can send out more deputies and we can send out more cops. That's not the problem in my estimation. It's a part of the problem, but it's not the solution. The country has got to decide how serious a crime by a man against a woman for sex trafficking is. You're either going to face the punishment or you're going to get a slap on the wrist.
Right.
Now, in my estimation, it's the punishment. You're going to be ostracized, to Mr. Kraft's point. You're going to carry around that stigma for the rest of your life that you were part of a sex trafficking operation. But the fact is that the country's not willing to go there right now.
Well, in my experience, the pedophiles were the lowest of the low in the prison system.
That's something that we have to recognize and acknowledge as a government. This is all of us. This isn't R's and D's and I's and...
No, this is a totally...
I disagree with you. Let's test it. I bet the country's ready to go there.
I hope you're right, sir. I'm such a cynic as you. You know me better than many. I hope you're right. I do believe that our parents, our teachers, our doctors and nurses, our cops, everyone in the chain, the social chain, has a huge oar in this. They have to play a role. Parents need to tell their children, look out, be careful, look both ways, not just crossing the street. The doctors that do the physicals and the dentists that check on these kids, hey, are you aware? Are you thinking about it? The teachers, the things we're teaching in school today versus the things we should be teaching on common sense, on protecting one another. Watch your fellow student. Is she falling victim? Is there a stranger hanging around the schoolyard? Are they offering you things? Are they playing games? This is common sense, but yet I can tell you, this is not happening.
Well, in school districts, like in Courtney's case, they turned a blind eye
They absolutely
to
do.
her groomer, who was a student, by the way, and then she was fed to the traffickers like lions.
Liability, they're afraid that the trial lawyers are going to run in and sue them till they're dead.
Yeah.
Which they do. Which they should. Which they should.
Well, we'd like to follow up on this specific area. I was not aware of the mandatory minimum or lack of enforcement thereof, and perhaps work with you, Mr. Correa, Ms. Poe, and Mr. Stone, and all members of this task force on a solution to this one, because I think this could make a serious dent. If you get to the high-profile buyers, you're going to make a real dent in the sort of marketing, if you will, of this criminal enterprise.
It also comes with a $5,000 mandatory fine that populates into a domestic trafficking victims fund. And so there's lots of incentive to up these prosecutions.
Oh, excellent. Well, I want to thank the witnesses. This has been a very profound hearing on a very ugly situation in this country and the world, and I hope we can make a difference to protect these victims. And we have two before us here today, and thank you for your testimony. I know it's not easy to talk about this publicly, and a lot of victims don't, but it was very valuable to this task force. So with that, this hearing stands adjourned, and thank you again for being here.